Hey everyone. I want to talk about the upcoming update, uh, which the update's already come to PC, but of course console's still waiting for it. On console we're still dealing with stuff like Kuva Brahma and Conclave. But you know, a lot of us are looking forward to the next update, which the main attraction of that update is gonna be shield gating. There's a lot of other cool stuff like changes to AoE weapons and some other things I can't really remember right now, but the main attraction is shield getting, and that's like sort of like the main thing that people are talking about because I think it's the thing that people are really like the most split about. Uh, just like as a sort of like generalization, it seems like PC players like are like sort of I would say it seems like 50 players are like 50-50 split between like not liking it and being okay with it. Probably like less than 50-50. Like I think most people on PC don't like it, and and yeah, I think most people on PC don't like it, and it's a relative minority that do. And of course, you know, we haven't been able to play around with it on console, but as far as I can tell, most people are on console are really looking forward to having it around, which is really interesting because like I know that like PC plays like really differently, and I think that's largely just because of largely because of like I guess like personalities. I guess like the most threatening things on like a console are generally also like the most threatening things on PC. But people on PC would generally like um people PC generally don't I guess try hard as much as on console. I mean that in terms of like what they choose to use instead of like the actual effort they put into gameplay. Uh so so yeah, that's like a difference that's you know that's existed for like the longest. But it's really interesting when it comes to stuff like this. So of course, you know, everyone on console has to really just look to PC to see like what's going on with shield gating and stuff. And so what I want to do here is I just want to briefly explain how it works, and then I just want to voice my opinions on it. So basically, you take damage to your shields as normal, and when your shields run out, that the damage that uh, causes your shields to run out will not bleed into your health. So your health will stay completely untouched, and then you'll get a 1.25 second invulnerability period. And so during that period, your health won't be taking any damage. And if you happen to get any shields back, your shield gate returns. So if you take damage again, that damage also won't bleed into your health, but the invulnerability period will be reduced to 0.3 seconds unless you happen to fully recharge your shields. The invulnerability period, and I think like just like the shield gating function itself, can be bypassed through ability damage and headshots. I'm not sure if it's like if like every ability like affects that. Like obviously not all abilities deal damage, but supposedly Banshee's sonar can help damage bypass shield gating. So I don't know how that's gonna apply to abilities like Rhino's roar and stuff. I'm gonna guess that roar won't do anything, as well as like most like normal forms of like damage infliction. That's something that you know probably has to be tested a bit with like just pretty much every individual ability that you know that could apply to. But yeah, those are the ways that you'd bypass shield getting headshots and ability damage. On top of that, Toxin works, you know, as you would expect it to. Nothing really changed about Toxin. And oh yeah, important thing that I forgot is that if your shields do run out, it'll take 8 seconds for them to for them to start recharging at base rather than the usual 5 seconds. Now, if your shields are only partially damaged, you're still going to get the normal 5 seconds. And I think both of those times are affected by that one mod, which Quick Charge, I think it's called, the one mod that lets you that shortens your recharge delay. So I think that 8 seconds will turn to like 6.4 seconds if you have that mod on. And I think that's everything that is like necessary to know. So I don't think this was designed for Conclave, but it really seems like it's balanced as if it was. And pretty much the reason why I say that is because it seems to be like perfectly suited to like the current dynamics that we have. So the weapons that deal high damage per hit, stuff like Daiku and Opticore, those are generally like the easiest weapons to use because, you know, people will generally use them in a way that's like basically just spamming shots. And then once they actually get a hit, either that hit is a kill, or they'll have to deal very little damage in order to actually finish getting that kill. So those are generally really easy because it's just super forgiving. And then people who are actually skilled with them, they're just so much more rewarded for actually, well, using them. So those are like pretty much like the most threatening weapons besides the things that are like particularly easy to use. Like Wolf's Pledge after Old Blood, like dual swords after Old Blood as well. Stuff like that. Static Core, all of those, by the way, were like nerfed in one way or another. I don't think I think all of them were nerfed by means other than shield gating, which I think is pretty cool. But then there's also shield gating on top of that to like further keep them in check and whatever else could be a problem. Okay, but all those high per hit damage weapons, those are hit the hardest by the fact that their damage can't bleed through shields. So they have to like break shields first and then you can start damaging health. They're most affected by that effect individually. And when it comes to the fact that, you know, there's an invulnerability period, which is 1.25 seconds when, you know, someone has max shield, or when someone starts with max shields, those Thor weapons are actually the least affected by that invulnerability period, because by the time they would fire their next shot, usually that invulnerability period would already be over. Just because they're such slow weapons, you know, their lack of speed is counteracted by their power. Now, the fast weapons would hardly be affected by either gate because, you know, they would have lower damage per hit, meaning that, you know, extra and like basically extra hits wouldn't really like increase like the hits that they need to kill by much of a percentage. So they have the invulnerability period, which I think is actually really good because it balances out their kill time without making them hard to use. If you were to make them hard to use, you'd counteract what the change did to weapons like Daiku and to a lesser degree weapons like Snipetron. Now there are weapons that are going to be largely affected both ways, like I mentioned Snipetron. Snipetron has been a problem because, you know, it two-shots almost everything, and it does it pretty quickly. I think its fire rate is like 2 per second, so it's gonna usually get at a 0.5 second kill time, which is pretty insane for the fact that you only need to hit 2 shots, whereas if you use a weapon like say Karak or Dare Vandal, you're gonna have to take longer than that while hitting more consistently. So the fact that that, you know, the fast weapons have the invulnerability periods balancing out rather than something like dealing less damage or something, that's gonna balance out their ease of use in comparison to the other weapons, rather than, you know, making them like the hardest weapons to use which would maybe like reward people for being consistent with their aim. But we do have stuff like headshots for that, which I think would be even, which I think is even like a steeper sort of skill reward, I guess. So rather than like trying to reward people for just being able to use like autos and stuff that are relatively weak, in like that sort of situation. Instead, you know, they had, you know, the whole like gating mechanic apply to autos in a way where they shouldn't really be hard to use. It's just, you know, it's just that their kill time is sort of extended in the same way as the slower weapons. Now, going back to Snipertron, it would very often have to 3-shot. Now, I don't think it would like always have to. I can't remember what shield damage it deals. It's something like it's something over like 100. I think it's like 120 something. But it's going to be very easy to survive 2 Snipertron shots, because if one shot doesn't fully remove your shields, then you'll be able to keep your shields on the next shot that hits as well. So it would have to hit 3 of its 4 shots if you're going like pure Snipertron. I think what you will often end up doing is they'll often end up bringing an impact weapon with it. So something like, say, Axe Stiletto or Euphona to just pair with it. I used to use a Wolf Sledge with it, so if I were to start using Snipertron again, I would probably just use Snipertron Wolf Sledge combo. It's not going to be like as bad as it seems, because you don't have to like use Snipertron purely. So you could use an impact weapon of some sort to, you know, get rid of the shields easily. And then once they're down to their health, that health will be easy to finish off with 1 shot in most cases. I think probably in all cases, really. So that should be a good balancing factor for it. Also relevant to Snipertron is the fact that headshots bypass shield gating. Well, it's extra relevant to Snipertron because Snipertron is one of those weapons which would be able to still one-shot through headshots. And I sort of thought of this as a problem, and in a way I still like kind of do, because, you know, it's still like a one-shot that you can't really like avoid. But it's not nearly as much of a problem as, you know, one-shot body shots, or like just the insane time to kill that Snipertron would have through body shots. Mainly because this isn't like as consistent for bad players. You know, it's not like someone can just because like before, someone could just pick up a die cube, sort of like spam shots towards people. I mentioned this already, and you know, eventually they get a hit, and either they get the kill or they very easily capitalize on that. But when it comes to headshots, that's not going to be happening as much unless, you know, unless the player is really good at aiming and stuff. And like, I think good players can put others into situations where headshots are easy to hit, but I don't think just like innately headshots would be easy to hit. So there are going to be a lot of situations where you can feel relatively safe from getting hit in the head, even if you think you're going to get hit by a body shot. There are a lot of ways to really reduce the chance of getting a headshot and stuff. And Yeah, like I still don't really like the idea of being one shot like that, but at the same time, it's not gonna happen very often, and it's mostly gonna be like a show of skill. So I think it's something that is very much acceptable. So an interesting thing is that this seems like this can also help new players learn more easily, despite being something that is like highly skillful, like something that would increase the skill gap. So I saw like at least one person saying it on the forums. I think he had like 5 likes or something, and I saw like at least a couple of other people talking about it on Discord. Sort of the idea is like people will know better how to react to certain things. So like the new player makes a mistake, and rather than just getting melted, they have like a second chance to strategize the next move. Now, of course, the the more skilled players will have this as well, because everyone's gonna have shield gating. Besides people who are using Nidasaur and Maros. But the thing with that is that getting the opportunity to strategize and like think more in those situations. I think that's what's gonna really help people learn, rather than like wondering what exactly the mistake they did was, or like that, or like that wondering could still apply. But they do have a chance to do better in that same situation. So it'd be easy to learn from the situation in general, even though it would be harder to kill that player that put them into it. And I know that some people on Discord were saying that it was like sort of like an illusion, because it would be harder for them to kill other players. But even if that's the case, where like this isn't really helping them, if it seems like it's helping them, that's actually going to have the same effect, because this is going to encourage people to try more. So if you think you have a chance, you're going to try more, and if you don't think you have a chance, you're probably going to end up quitting. That's sort of the way things will generally work. So I definitely want to keep an eye on what newer players are saying about this, to see like what stuff they're trying, and whatever, how much more they're trying different things. And I think that's going to be really interesting to see. As a sort of bonus effect, it seems like map knowledge is going to become more impactful, because taking full advantage of that invulnerability period will most likely be a matter of controlling sightlines. So on a map like Core, for example, you can break line of sight pretty easily, but it's a mostly open design where people can come around where you've broken line of sight also very easily. So you have to be really strategic in your positioning to be able to temporarily break line of sight quickly, and then later find a route that would more completely break line of sight, which I think is pretty interesting. That's pretty much the reason why Core is my favorite map, because pretty open-ended strategies when it comes to using those sightlines and stuff. And this would be completely different on a map like Bunker here, as I'm sort of showing, where you can see how it's a really open map, and you don't really have much place for cover in like the main area of the map. And then once you're in like the more enclosed areas, you can still like really be directly closed in. There aren't going to be a lot of places where like you're encountering where like you're challenging someone, and then you can fall back while while really limiting the opportunity for them to follow up on you. Whereas on core you can do that, but it takes a lot of strategy too. And this is going to apply differently on other maps as well. And like the way these sorts of dynamics will apply with different weapons and abilities, I think that's also going to be really interesting. And then finally, as like the last bonus effect, cleanups are going to be hard because you'll have those mods that will start regenerating, that'll reset your recharge delay when you get a kill. Now, you're most likely not going to fully recharge your shields before someone gets to you, just because of those mods. But still, you will regen some shields. So, like, if someone's using something like, for example, something like a Snipetron or a Latron, they're gonna take at least one extra shot to actually be able to kill you. So I think that's also a pretty positive effect. Like, you'd still be able to clean up, especially if you're using something faster, like a Karak or whatever. But with, like, you know, those higher per damage weapons, it's gonna take more it's still going to take more commitment, just like, you know, getting a kill with them is going to take more commitment. So, you know, someone who's Snipetron isn't just going to see someone, it isn't usually just going to see someone with low health and just be able to finish them off in one shot like that. You know, they're usually going to have to take 2 shots, or they're going to have to use different weapons to pair with that. If they're using something like, for example, Axolotl alongside it, it's going to be relatively easy to finish that person off, because, you know, they'll still only have like the partial shield and vulnerability, so it would be 0.3 seconds, not a very long of a wait. But still, this is going to take more. Is usually going to take more effort than just getting one Snipetron shot. You're going to have to be more consistent with your aim to actually, you know, finish off this person to get your kill. And, you know, I think that's a pretty positive fact. So yeah, considering all those factors, hopefully you can understand why I'm like really excited for shield gating. I think most console players would agree with me about, you know, most of the points and stuff. So yeah, I can't really wait to try it. I'll definitely talk about a lot of things that, you know, I find once, you know, it does release. On top of that, I'm also most likely going to be updating my Conclave guide, because shield gating is going to really change a lot of the dynamics and stuff, and at this point I know a lot of my info is outdated. At least like it's like before the update, a little bit of it's outdated, and I think after this update comes, it's it could use like a significant change. So yeah, I'll, you know, share my findings there for the most part, and hopefully that's gonna help some people to adapt and stuff. So yeah, I hope you all enjoy and look forward to that as much as I am.